Hey, I'm Chris. I'm the product owner and lead developer on RIPE IPmap, which is the RIPE NCC's API for geolocating core internet infrastructure. So what I want to do today is talk about IPmap for people who maybe haven't heard of it before, or for people who've heard about it in the past, but haven't checked in a while. So the point of RIPE IPmap is it's an API where you can submit IP addresses and get back geographical locations. So that's the same as, on that level, that's the same as other geolocation services, but the real difference with RIPE IPmap is we target core internet infrastructure. So what do we mean by that? We mean internet exchange points, we mean transit points, we mean routers in general. So how is internet traffic moving across the globe, rather than the end consumer points, which are already well served by other data sets. So there's been various techniques and research about how to gather the appropriate data in order to locate these infrastructure IP addresses. And the problem has always been that there hasn't been a central coordination point for all of this data. So it hasn't been publicly easily available to the internet community. So the whole point behind RIPE IPmap, and it's now gone through several iterations, the whole point is that we can bring all of this data together, all of these techniques together in one place, and allow that to be used by people to get an answer for where IP addresses are located. So what I can do is start with the IPmap landing page, because this has a bit of a visual demonstration of what the API is capable of. So you can see here there's just a demonstration trace route. So any sort of network operators, you'll be familiar with the format of trace routes. And essentially, for those who aren't, these are the individual hops that data packets have taken from getting point A to point E. So in this case, this is a trace route from Amsterdam to Australia. And you can see on the map where IPmap thinks that the different points are located. So we're starting in Amsterdam, we're probably transiting through Singapore, and we end up in Brisbane, Australia. So this is an abridged version of a trace route. It just has a few hops. I can actually make that a bit more complete by pasting in a larger trace route. So this is now a full trace route, the kind you could get just from your terminal. You can see it's similar, but because we have more hops, we have more locations. You can click through on any of these dots, and this is where you see the actual API output. So this is the kind of core of the service of IPmap, is the API. As you can see, it's a JSON API. So it's very easy to parse from any scripting language, programming language, what have you. Each result will describe a particular location on the map and how it corresponds to an IP address. And you can see here that there are contributions from these different things. And these things are engines. And engines in RIPE IPmap are sets of techniques and data sets which contribute answers to a geolocation lookup. So essentially, when you query for a particular IP address, all of the engines will try and locate that IP address in parallel using their own techniques. They'll all return a result, if there are any results, or a set of results with scores, which represent how confident that engine is that the location is correct. And then an aggregator pulls it all together, combines all the scores, and provides our best answer or answers for the location of a particular IP address. So you can see in this case, two particular engines were used to source this answer, and there are relative confidence factors there as well. You can see, for instance, extra information here in the radius. So this represents that in this case, well, we know that this location is probably this many meters from the location that we return. So that's actually easily visible on the map. If you hover over here, you can see this is a probably fairly accurate location, because we can see it covers a bit of the Netherlands, but we're pretty sure it's not outside of that. So how can you get started with RIPE IPmap? So there are two resources in the documentation to start using the API. So the first one is the manual. The manual provides a high-level overview of the service, but it also goes into details of what are the different engines, what are the different geolocation techniques, how do we come to the answers which we eventually give to the user. So you can kind of see there, you can read all through that about some of the background. We also invite people to contribute because RIPE IPmap is, by origin, it's come out of collaboration with academics, with researchers, and that's something we very much want to continue. RIPE IPmap it's a functional service, but it's not a finished product. We want to improve this over time, and we will do that largely by collaborating with the research community. So as well as the manual, there's the API reference, which is a pretty standard kind of description of the JSON API. It tells you inputs, outputs, all that kind of stuff. It should be fairly straightforward. There are several parts to the API. The main part you can see here is the locate API, and that's kind of does what it says on the tin. That is, you put in an IP address and get back locations. And there are support APIs as well. So finally, all of this data, as well as being available through the JSON API, is exported into a CSV format, which can be downloaded from this website, which is on ftp.ripe.net. So that's really useful for researchers who want to have all of the data. They don't want to do lots of different queries, but they want to have all of the data and process it and come up with their own findings and so on. Okay, so that was RIPE IPmap. Thanks for watching. I'd like to thank the people that we've collaborated with over time because, like I said, RIPE IPmap was really born from collaboration with researchers and academics, and a lot of people have kind of put their effort into making it successful, and that's definitely something we want to continue because it's not a finished product, although it's a usable service, and we'd definitely like to improve it over time. So, yeah, thanks again for watching. If you have any questions about how you're going to use IPmap or any comments, use cases, let us know in the comments. And thanks again.